Don't fix it if it ain't broke. I hate that phrase because there's a lot of stuff, if you wait till it's broke, ooh, it's real broke, right? You've got a gold wing. You better get ahead of those valves. Make sure you do your valves, timing belts, and water pump seals in a timely manner. Or if you wait, it'll just destroy the engine, right? If you wait till something's actually broken, it'll be so broke that the engine will be completely lynched. Well, that brings us to our 1200 Suzuki Bandit, 1998. Thing was running. Other people would just run it. But you had to run with a little bit of choke on all the time. That was telling me that the carburation wasn't perfect. So I got the carburetors torn apart. They're over back behind me. And what I found was that the O-rings all throughout the carburetor were kind of hardened up. So there was additional air and fuel passages that weren't supposed to be there. They were just leaking past the O-rings. What we're doing is valve lash adjustments. So one of the glories of the Bandits here is they run a rocker arm and set screw for valve lash adjustments. So I got my carburetor out of the way, and all praise be to Suzuki. You can bring those carburetors straight up the top or out either side. They're just a very easy service. Mosquito there. Very easy to service carburetor rack. I got my side cover off there so I can roll the engine over, and down these holes right here, that's where our spark plugs are going to go. So I'll get some fresh spark plugs, cam cover gaskets. There's a whole bunch of different little seals and O-rings that go in the cam cover. And I'll just double check all the valve lash because this has got 25,000 miles on it, and we have no idea whether the previous owners, since 1998, have kept up on valve lash. Now, I'm looking at the cam lobes, and none of the cam lobes show signs of. So if it hasn't been, you'll see a line all the way around one of the lobes, if it's too tight, if the valve lash is too tight, and I don't see that. So that's a good sign. If it's a little loose, it's not going to hurt anything. It's if they go tight where bad things happen. So, but nothing looks terribly ugly in here, 1998 to 2025. If it had been terribly, terribly neglected, horrible things could have happened. But these are a fantastic design. Rocker arm and set screw, 4 valves per cylinder. And I'll just set the valve lash on these. I'll put a fresh set of spark plugs and button that back up. We'll go through our carburetors and make sure everything's all cleaned out, and we get fresh O-rings. The brass never wears out, but when I order my kits for my O-rings, it'll come with all the brass. So, oh well, I'll have spares of that. It's already got a really good washable, cleanable air filter assembly here, and then I'll have to decide if I want to put this back together with the stock exhaust or if I want to go to a lighter exhaust. Now, here's kind of a neat thing about modern motorcycles, and that would include this one. The modern exhaust, you don't really gain much power. And I put an asterisk next to it because of the 1998 Bandit and the story behind that. Normally, modern motorcycles, you don't gain much power. What you do is drop a lot of weight. So when you put an aftermarket exhaust system on, you're dropping a very heavy, but I'm way too fat to worry about a heavy muffler, right? I mean, if I need to drop weight, I should drop it off me before I worry about the bike. Plus, this thing makes 100 horsepower, like 99.8, and it's a really, really, really broad application of power, which I really like. But now what I was going to say about normally and in relation to the 1200 Bandit. So back when this bike came out, there was a gentleman's agreement amongst all the manufacturers to not cross 100 horsepower. So Suzuki sent this out making 99.5 horsepower. And all you got to do is put a jet kit, free-flowing airbox lid, and a muffler on, and the thing would gain like 15 horsepower. It was a crazy amount of power that was available if you wanted to add it. But the only give up, what do you give up to gain this horsepower? It was going to be a little peakier. Well, right now it's got 100 horsepower across the board. It's incredibly linear, and I really enjoy it. Plus, I do like quiet exhaust because I drive like a fool, and I don't need the additional attention of loud exhaust. So I'm putting this thing back together as close to stock as I can keep it. But that's becoming a problem because bikes this old, you can't always get stock mufflers, and this muffler is starting to rattle, so I may be forced to put an aftermarket muffler on. The chains and sprockets look pretty good. I just picked this bike up for $1,600 not too long ago. Chain and sprockets are in really nice shape. I'll do an oil change on it. I'm going to assume the fork oil is vintage 1998, so I'll do fork oil. My brake fluids all look really, really nice. So I'm going to probably flush them out just because you should, but it doesn't look like they were ignored, at least. They got a good color to them. You know, that's a little darker than I'd like to see, but so I'll flush out the brake fluids, inspect my brake pads on both ends, double check my chain and sprockets, set my valve lash, change my fork oil, and it'll be a wonderful, wonderful motorcycle by spring for me. And then I'll decide if I want to change the ergonomics at all because, you know, I'm old. This is really nice. So tubular handlebars like this, a real forgiving seating position. So looking forward to riding this more. I put probably 1,000 miles on it here since buying it, and gave me an idea of the sort of things I need to deal with over the winter. Found a little bit of age. You know, there's a little piece of cracked bodywork, but they did a really good job of patching it, so I'm not even upset about that. I am curious about scratches like this. Like, what in the world are scratches like that doing? I don't know. Anyway, just my thoughts on picking up old motorcycles and different things. Take care, everyone.